mentor mentee reflection, standards 6, 7, and 8. I'm here with Ms. Berry. She's going to, I guess, give me some feedback based on my lesson. My lesson was about hydration versus dehydration, the importance of water. I think it went pretty well.
And what were the standards?
The standards were, I'm not no
Hand signals?
okay. We had to have
The nonverbal
the
signals.
TSAC standards. Yes, was 6, 7, and 8, and we had to show different ways of getting the information across. We had to make sure we had them ready for their summative, and using, I guess, signals and gestures, what have you, to get the lesson across.
Okay, so I know you used your hand signaling for the vocabulary in the lesson. How did you think they responded to that?
I think they were actually very engaged by it. It gave them an element, of course, of movement,
Mm-hmm.
and allowed them to talk, and it made them, I guess, flow with the lesson because every time I made a hand gesture, they made sure to look for it. They were very,
Okay, so you're talking about engagement. You felt
yeah,
like
they were very engaged.
increased
Like
engagement.
yeah, they were looking for the signals because I said I'm gonna do them sporadically through the lesson. Make sure you do it. I want to catch anybody,
Mm-hmm.
not watching. So they really did pay attention.
So I was wondering when I saw that, how often do you is that something that you do? Do you
Yes,
use hand signals with your vocabulary,
I use hand
or did
signals
you
with
just
everything.
pull that out for
Well, no, I mean I do. I've been doing it without knowing that it was even
a strategy?
part of a strategy. So
Okay.
I have been doing this for a while, and it works. And
I know that you use the verbal, like, I know that you signal them to say your word, like your vocabulary word of the day and stuff like that, or the week. But I didn't know if students were in the habit of responding with a physical signal because I was thinking that, we're starting to have some students who are, we're having more nonverbal students, more students on the spectrum, where we want to, like, in order to differentiate instruction and to reach everybody, we want to have other ways that they're hearing, or responding that are not just call and response and cold call and that kind of thing. And then with this whole science of reading and the no sh and the no hands raised, um, I felt like that fits in
mhm,
to the transition that they're going to be looking for from us. So I
mhm.
was wondering how much of that, what looked new to you, or if you had any ideas about new ways to use it after doing it for this lesson.
Yeah, I'll find myself looking at new ways to use it because I've been doing it, but I not just for the student, but for myself as well to keep myself, still engaged with
Mm-hmm.
the presentation or the lesson. So I try to put new spins, not just for them, but for myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself putting it in new ways, not just for vocabulary, but even for checking for understanding. I may use signals. Even
Mm-hmm.
when I ask them how they're feeling for the day, they can give me thumbs up,
Mm-hmm.
sideways, thumbs down.
Okay, good.
So,
That's what I wanted to know because I wasn't sure if they were just, I can only hear you, but I don't usually see you. So I know that they are prompted to say that word so they can, whatever word that y'all are working on, so that they can hear it enough times for it to stick, right? But I didn't know, I've not seen where if there's a hand motion or something kinesthetic that goes with it. And of course, like you already said, that helps with engagement. What about, what do they
another
have?
good part we had to show differentiation of the topic. So I showed myself as an athlete how I would look. I use myself as an example. If I'm leaning over, holding my knees and panting, they said, "Oh, that looks dehydrated." And I said, "Well, if I'm upright and I'm playing full of energy, and I take me a swig of Gatorade, now you are what? You're hydrated. You look hydrated." So I was able to
So are you talking about
use
differentiated
sports,
instruction or are you talking about
like using myself as an example instead of just hydration means this.
okay, instead of just telling the
Yeah,
vocabulary,
right.
actually showing it. Okay.
Yeah, I
And it
displayed it. Yeah.
okay, got you. So, what about the summative? What do they know about that? How comfortable do you think, like, how do you think that part went over
I
for them?
did introduce it, and I told them it's going to be pretty much an all-inclusive worksheet. Where it's going to have everything we've covered so far from the start of this lesson, from healthy versus unhealthy snacks to sleep, and also the importance of water and proper and improper exercise.
And do you feel like
So
they understood it? That's my thought is just, how we have K through 5, so Third through fifth,
Easier, right?
after hearing it a few times and experiencing it, they're going to understand, oh, when he says summative, after a while we get this big, test, right? But first grade, this was first grade.
Hmm.
I was wondering how you, did you
One,
feel like they could
I
relate to
didn't
it?
use the word test,
Okay, right. But did you feel
and
like they were,
I felt as if they weren't scared of it. They didn't seem
yeah,
like
uncomfortable?
uncomfortable. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, all right, we're ready. Because like I guess the way, to be honest, to pat myself on the back, the way I presented the information, it wasn't too hard for them to retain because I made it relevant and somewhat enjoyable, and they remembered based on how they felt from that lesson, the information I wanted them to actually get across.
Right. So I would think it'd be a great idea to continue to use that word for them because as they get older, what a summative assessment looks like is going to change.
Hmm.
But that comfort that you're establishing when they're young, like, hey, you can do it. You're just 5, 6. You can do a summative assessment instead of it coming out the woodwork at third and fourth grade where they're like, oh no, now we have big tests. And I know you like Kahoot, and
Hmm.
they're used to playing Kahoot. You can use Kahoot for a summative assessment actually because of the way it tracks all their data.
That too.
And that would be one that would keep them like it'll be fun. It would keep them with a positive association with it. But maybe the way to help them understand is to show them the results.
Hmm.
Look how many you got right. You
Very
know,
true. Because
um,
I've been using Kahoot for like formatives, but I can't use it for
you
summative as well.
can,
That's very
yeah,
true.
depending on how you set it up.
Right.
Also, Nearpod and those kind of things.
You can create it yourself on there too. Put your
Right,
own
and
questions
you
in.
can use individual devices, which would also incorporate technology in a different way besides just watching a video or presenting media. The more that they're interacting in an assessment, like in a testing environment,
Hmm.
on their devices, supports them scoring better in the spring when they get on. So those would be in terms of suggestions of ways to expand. Because like I always say, like I think you already know the basics. So the best way to use this is to push yourself for new
I
ways
guess
to.
one of the issues I had as far as when it comes to formative and summative, um, usually with first grade, I have to read the questions to them.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them can read on
Mm-hmm.
their own.
Right.
So that sometimes throws it off because I want to let them push themselves, but I know if I don't read certain ones out loud, then certain kids are just not going to get it.
Right, but you also have to make sure check in with yourself about whether your association with a summative assessment needs to change. Because we went to school a long time ago. A test was always a piece of
Paper and
paper.
a
You
pencil,
had to read it
right?
by yourself. You had to be
Very true.
quiet. And your teacher cared whether you could read it by yourself or not.
Hmm.
At the first grade level and in an enrichment course, is it important that they can spell it or read it?
Mm.
I mean, we want to encourage reading, but if you're testing them to see in a formative or a summative, your formative, you want to see how much of what you've already taught is sticking
Hmm.
and how much, what do they need,
Go back over, right?
to complete that learning, right? So for that, I want to move all of the mechanics out of the way if they are an obstacle. If
Mm.
a student can read, then let them read it and let them do it. But that's the reason why it could be useful, especially for younger grades, to use a tool that animates something, automates something, where you push a button and pick one, where you slide.
Hmm.
You can make a Google slide and put objects that they sort into groups. Which one is hydrated? Which one of these is hydration? Which one? What we have before exercise and
Okay.
what was it? You have some.
Oh, proper and improper exercises?
Yeah,
Right.
right. So those could be images, and they
Hmm.
can slide them over. It can be something you cut out and glue into place. They don't have to be
True.
able to read to do that.
And those are
Now,
summatives. Can be part of the summative.
right.
Yeah, it's very true.
And then of course at the first grade level, they can't take a test that has 20 questions and they have to spin off.
Exactly.
They're not, so you might have to. It's still summative if there's a limited target and you test just that target, and then you
Exactly.
test the
Like I
other
take
part of it.
3 questions from each part of it, even if it's 3 questions each, it's
Or if
still
it, yeah, or
yeah.
if it's one question
Right.
about two things. I mean, they're first graders. If their reading level is low,
True.
excuse me, you can't give them more than they can read in that period of time.
Hmm.
So, so what I'm suggesting is make sure you're not limiting yourself. That a summative, that I have to figure out how to give them a big fat test. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? What you have to do though is figure out what's most important, what were the true, line it up to the targets that you had, and give them an opportunity to show you independently.
So you can collect the data and get the feedback and
Hmm.
know
Right, and that's
if there was mastery or not.
exactly
Right.
without you guiding it, right?
Exactly.
But that's the reason why I really like for us the tools that collect the data, because you can't, when you teach the whole school, to aggregate the data is a lot. So if you have something that's already organized to hold the data,
Okay.
but
These are the announcements. Uh,
yeah.
I think we got a pretty much a nice amount. Is there something else you want to add? We can talk about.
No, that
Okay.
was everything I think. Is there anything else you want to
No,
cover?
but you hit a lot of big points as far as summatives that I didn't even think of. As like you
Good.
said, being in the old school style of school, I still think paper, pencil,
Right.
and
And
test, and
and we don't have to think about
right.
that as a freedom. That you don't have to. You can, but that's not the extent of it.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Good job.
One more to go.